Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're back in business with a showdown between the new Beastmen facing off against the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by none other than King of the Dead, bringing his undead back into play. It's going to be a Jabberslythe build, so we do have double Jabberslythe backed up by a big angry brass cow. Now, I actually think TAUROX is quite good, especially against the playstyle that King of the Dead likes. So King, I know he really likes CYLOSTRA as well as a couple of vampire characters on the crabs. That's pretty much what TAUROX is designed to kill, right? He gets in there, he just mauls heavy armor, he has good mass, he can push through zombies, and I actually feel like he could be very, very good in this matchup. Now, TAUROX might be a little bit weaker against Gunline Coast, but Gunline Coast is a big liability against Beastmen. Considering Tuscarora Chariots and Centaurs and all the effective mobility they have to really get in there, I think that TAUROX is generally pretty safe. So, got a bunch of Gore Herds. Wanted to go hog wild with the Jabberslythes. I've been using the Gorgons like every game, so I was like, let's get in there and use the Jabberslythes. And, they do magic damage. And also, that was another thing I was thinking is that I know King likes to use Sirene, so let's get some magic damage in there with some Mortis Engine action, or I guess semi-Mortis Engine. It's not like a true Mortis Engine, but it's pretty close. I mean, it is and it isn't. They have to be below 50% leadership for it to actually work. A couple Raiders in the backfield, double Chariot here, and we have the Centaurs, and that's going to be it. So, in my experience, I find that the Tuscarora Chariots themselves they're pretty good, but the really obviously super broken unit is the characters on the single entity Tuscarora Chariots. But these ones I still think, I haven't quite been able to decipher if there's like a big problem with the standard Tuscarora Chariots and whatnot. They still seem very good for their cost. But yeah, something to kind of keep an eye on over the course of the game. We'll see what kind of value they can get, and if they just do an obscene amount of damage, that'll be something to take note of. But Jabberslythe, Centaurs on the far side, and that is it. Now for King's army, it's a classic King army, except no bombers, I guess, which is a little bit strange. He usually always brings those. But double deck gunners, we got Vampire here, both of which just have the Power Stones, and one has Invocation and Drown Dead. And CYLOSTRA does have Tide Call and the Fog of the Damned. Depth Guard in the back too, I actually like that. Depth Guard can do well against the Beastmen. Beasts, I should say. The infantry. Here in the flank, Centaur's got to be running in, going after the freebies I can get. So I figured, hey, let's get the Centaurs in there. Let's collapse into the zombie pirate deckhand mobs and do some work. And yeah, so far so good. We're getting some nice damage. However, King is getting a nice amount of firepower from his Shade Wraith gunners and other units. Both of my Jabberslythes getting their pickles tickled a little bit. And King also going to be using a summon here, I think. Or no, that was actually mine. He does do it soon, though. But a Feral Manticore going to be coming down as your boy TAUROX the Brass Bull moving in. One Jabberslythe getting absolutely dominated in combat by King's Goon Squad, also being shot. And now the Brass Bull, pretty angry, going to be moving in and hopefully doing some work here against the Crabcaster. And it looks like he is. I mean, 2 attacks, really massive charge bonus on him. He's able to get in there and really do some great work. So my Chariots do charge in, but King, with a nice response, does use the Damned Knights Errant to kind of pin them in place. And now they're trapped and not really going to be able to do a whole lot. On the far side, getting my Ungor Spearmen around, and I do have a unit of Centaurs coming from the deep. I was really surprised that he didn't have any Hound units. That's why I was keeping these Centaurs back. But at this point, I felt safe that he didn't have any. Anyways, we do have the Feral Manticore helping here in the Chariots, just kind of working through zombies. One Jabberslythe gets absolutely karate chopped though, which is a bit of a shame. You know, he's running away. He's a happy boy. He'll go back to his cave and hopefully not be discovered by the Lizardmen. And over here, we do have the other Jabberslythe trying to juke about, going after the Depth Guard now, trying to get some Mortis damage on that bad boy. And yeah, for the most part, my infantry are doing well. I mean, he doesn't have any bombers or really heavy anti-infantry here, so my Beastmen infantry have been able to dominate most fights, except where the Depth Guard roam. But TAUROX is here. The Brass Bull should be able to get in there and do some heavy AP damage against these boys, and now some Halberds moving in, and the Crab characters. And yeah, for the most part, TAUROX can stand and fight, but surrounded by deckhand mob polearms and also being shot by pistols. Granted, his armor is insane. I mean, 130 armor against really low AP. He's going to be a monster to stop there. But many of the Shade Wraith gunners and other units have been compromised. One unit did kind of get taken out here, or at least shut down for now. The game is pretty even at this point, but the big deciding factor is if I can shut down his deck gunners, which right now we are going to be getting one of them. A little bit of Mortis Engine going down from the Jabberslythes, but here comes the Centaurs swarming in onto the deck gunners, and they just get wrecked. They're one of the squishiest units in the game. Very low HP pool, pretty much no defensive stats to speak of. So that's a nice catch. Now, all this time, the Brass Bull has been fighting in the front against the Vampire Fleet Captain as well as CYLOSTRA Direfin, and a nice little Tide Call right there does some damage. Man, that damage is really pitiful, though. It was a good cast, but the damage was just so bad. So TAUROX trying to get away. Didn't want to be fighting CYLOSTRA plus the Fleet Captain, so I'm trying to lure King into deeper waters. But in the backfield, it's starting to look very good for the Beastmen as the Jabberslythe gets onto the guns, and the other Jabberslythe has come back. The Mortis Engine is going to be in effect. And the Chariots have been in combat fighting, pretty progressively, but they have been pinned down for a fair amount of time. Let's actually see what kind of value they get. Is it going to be like 1,000 or something? Oh, okay, maybe like 400. So not like super super crazy. In my experience, the single entity ones are the ones that are really, really broken. I don't know if like Tuskor chariots. I think they're just priced really well. I think that's a big factor. I think they could be like 100 gold more and it would be totally fine. But anyways, Brass Bull fighting in here, just 3v1ing all these angry vampires. Centaur swarming in just to make sure the Brass Bull doesn't get surrounded. And it looks like an overcasted Invo is going to be going down on the undead forces as a Shade Wraith. Not Shade Wraith, but a Wraith Storm comes down or some sort of witchcraft. Oh no, that's Fog of the Damned. So that is the debuff. You don't see it often, but it's actually not bad, especially against low leadership. And these damn Depth Guard causing quite a bit of problems as another Tide Call does go in. But thankfully my chariots are on the job. The Tuskor chariots, you know, that is one thing they're quite good against. They're good against many things, but they excel against armored infantry. So here they're doing their thing, although one of them getting a little bit beat up. Now 2 Jabber Slice up on the high ground, crumping through those deckhand mobs, and now the Jabber Slice going to be making their way downtown. Making my way downtown, killing vampires. And yeah, just going after the Depth Guard now. So pulling back, trying to force the overextension. He had a nice little pocket of halberds here, so I'm like, let's go after these Depth Guard, let's finish him off. TAUROX almost died here, but he's still been doing great damage. I mean, you've seen all the fights TAUROX has been in. He's just trying to distract his force a little bit. Probably a mistake sending in those Centaurs right now into all those halberds, to be honest. Jabber Slice getting in there, getting down and dirty, and it is a big AP monster. Still can fight such targets. Depth Guard are completely run over by the chariots, and the other Jabber Slice going to be pouncing over there as the Brass Bull comes back in with a full chub to try and finish off this vampiric force. Hopefully the Bull will be able to, you know, take himself by the horns and get in there and deal with it. The Manticore Summon trying to just end the game with a big summon here. The Brass Bull moves in, starts beating on the vampiric characters. It's only a matter of seconds before the balance of power does come to an end here for the Vampire Coast. So GG, it was a fun one for sure. The Jabber Slice were interesting. You know, I think if I had just gone like double Gorgon, it would have been exponentially better. But again, I was like, let's bring some magic damage in case he goes Cyrene. So, you know, probably a better way to build this is just to cut 1 Jabber Slice. I mean, they did pretty subpar. Just cut 1 and get a Gorgon. Then the Gorgon plus TAUROX, man, they would have just dominated this monster force. And I feel like 1 Jabber Slice is probably enough magic damage. Plus, you can also bring some magic damage on your caster via Death Caster to deal with the scary Cyrenes. But overall, yeah, TAUROX was a monster. 3,100 value. He just went apeshit. Just he had so many good targets like on the battlefield that of course he was going to get good value. Other MVPs, of course, the chariots did okay. You know, this one paid for itself, the other one didn't, but still were in pretty decent shape as the game progressed. And yeah, of course, they weren't full health. They were more around like half health and a little bit lower. But if you end the battle and they have the highest, they still have 3 out of 3 models, it just shows it's full health in the end screen. But yeah, not quite accurate there. But yeah, it was a fun one. Vampire Coast, I think I think Vampire Coast versus Beastmen, I think it'll probably be favored for Beastmen in general. I think they have a lot of good tools against the Vampire Coast now. Not to say Coast can't win it. I do think King needed to win the infantry fight, and you know, that's pretty doable. My infantry quality was pretty trash. I think if he had some bombers in there to just wear down my, like, annihilate my infantry, my gores, and then suddenly he has infantry support for his monsters. I also think you need some hounds. Hounds are just exceptionally good. They can deal with Centaurs. They can chase down my Ungor Raiders. You need those kind of tools, like, or deck dropper bats. Like, any number of things like that would have been amazing here, but they just weren't here. Like, imagine, I didn't even think of it, man. If he had come in with like 3 or 4 deck dropper gun bats, I would have had almost no answer. Yeah, in retrospect, this build needs harpies, like 100%. You need something, because if you play against like the classic Anticity style of using the 2 deckhand mobs with replenish and then, like, you know, a bunch of gun bats, I would have lost. I would have for sure lost. Yeah, so that's something to take into account. If you're going to play a build like this, you know, maybe switch this guy out for a Gorgon, cut the infantry quality, get some harpies, and I think that's going to be the trick. But yeah, it was still a fun game. Cool units for sure across the board. So that's it for now, my friends. Take care. We'll see you with another replay soon, and that is it. Cheers.